Step into the fascinating world of coin collecting as we explore the top 3 Old Roosevelt Dimes, coins that have survived decades of history, from the bustling streets of 20th century America to the hands of collectors today. These tiny silver treasures may look ordinary at first glance, but each one carries a unique story, hidden details, and rare characteristics that make them highly sought after by collectors around the world. In this video, you'll discover why these dimes are more than just currency. They're pieces of history, symbols of craftsmanship, and potential hidden treasures that could be worth far more than their face value. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or simply curious about the secrets behind these iconic coins, get ready for an in-depth journey that uncovers the mystery, rarity, and incredible stories behind America's most beloved small silver coins, the Roosevelt Dimes. The 1975 Roosevelt dime is a fascinating piece of American coinage that carries both historical significance and numismatic interest. The dime was designed by John R. Sinnock and first released in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had passed away in 1945. Roosevelt was widely admired not only as a statesman and leader of the United States during the Great Depression and World War II, but also for his work in founding the March of Dimes to combat polio, which affected millions of Americans, including Roosevelt himself. The obverse of the 1975 Roosevelt dime features a profile portrait of President Roosevelt facing left. The sculpted likeness captures his determined expression and distinguished features and is surrounded by the inscriptions, "Liberty in God," "We Trust," and the date. 1975. The artist's initials, JS, appear subtly at the base of the neck. The reverse of the coin depicts a classic torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch. The torch symbolizes liberty, the olive branch peace, and the oak branch strength and independence. Above the torch is the inscription, United States of America, while below it reads, "One dime." The motto, A Pluribus Unum, appears horizontally across the top. The Roosevelt dime is composed of a clad composition consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This composition was adopted in 1965 following the removal of silver from circulating dimes due to rising silver prices, which made coins more valuable for their metal content than for spending. The 1975 dimes were struck at 3 mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins do not bear a mint mark, while Denver coins carry a D mint mark and San Francisco coins carry an S mint mark. The 1975 issue does not have any major minting errors, but collectors often seek examples with full strike details or proof coins from San Francisco, which have a mirror-like finish and sharper details. Proof coins were part of the regular proof sets and were highly sought after by collectors. The 1970s were a period of continued circulation of Roosevelt dimes alongside other coinage. The design had already become iconic by this time and was familiar to every American. The coins were widely used in everyday transactions, yet they also held appeal for coin collectors due to their historical significance and connection to Roosevelt. The value of a 1975 Roosevelt dime in circulated condition is generally minimal, often worth face value. However, uncirculated or proof examples, especially those with exceptional quality or in original mint packaging, can fetch a higher premium in the numismatic market. Collectors often pay attention to details such as strike quality, luster, and the absence of contact marks when assessing the value of these coins. The Roosevelt dime is part of a long legacy of U.S. coinage that commemorates historical figures and events while remaining in regular circulation. Its design has endured for decades and remains a staple of American coinage. Its production and circulation tell a story of post-war America, the evolving monetary system, and the continued remembrance of a beloved president. In addition to its monetary role, The dime also serves as a reminder of Roosevelt's contributions to public health initiatives. The March of Dimes campaign that Roosevelt inspired continues to impact the fight against polio and other childhood diseases. The 1975 Roosevelt dime is therefore not only a piece of currency but also a small tribute to Roosevelt's enduring legacy. The coin exemplifies mid-20th century American minting practices and reflects the design aesthetics of the period. Its simple yet meaningful design captures the essence of liberty and national pride. Collectors often incorporate 1975 Roosevelt dimes into larger collections that document the evolution of U.S. coinage over time. By examining coins like the 1975 dime, one can gain insight, the cultural and economic context of the era. The 1970s saw a stable yet dynamic economy, and coinage like the Roosevelt dime circulated widely in commerce and everyday life. Coins like this served as a tangible connection to the nation's history and values and continue to captivate collectors today. The story of the 1975 Roosevelt dime becomes even more interesting when we explore the political and economic environment of the mid-1970s, a time when the United States Mint was working to maintain coin production at high levels due to the growing population and increased demand for small denomination coins. The country was experiencing inflation, energy challenges, and transitions in government leadership, and these broader national conditions had an influence on how coinage was viewed and used in everyday life. The dime remained an essential part of daily commerce, especially for vending machines, payphones, parking meters, and small transactions that shaped the daily routines of millions of Americans. The 1975 dime represents a continuation of the clad coinage era that began in 1965 when silver was removed from circulating dimes, quarters, and half dollars. The rising price of silver in the early 1960s forced the government to find a more stable and less expensive metal composition for coins. The copper-nickel-clad structure introduced during this transition proved efficient, durable, and cost-effective, allowing the mint to meet rising demand without relying on precious metals. The 1975 dime therefore reflects the mint's long-term commitment to this modern coinage standard and stands as a typical representative of how American coins evolved away from intrinsic metal value and toward practicality. The production process of the 1975 dime itself reflects the precision and industrial capability of the U.S. Mint. At the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, massive coining presses struck millions of dimes each day. Mint workers prepared copper-nickel sheets, rolled them into strips, and punched circular blanks, which were then sent through an upsetting mill to form raised edges. These edges ensured the coins would stack neatly and maintain consistent size essential for machines and counters. Afterward, the blanks were struck between engraved dies which imprinted Roosevelt's portrait on one side and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the other. These symbols continued to represent liberty, peace, and strength values that had defined the nation's identity throughout the 20th century. The San Francisco Mint focused primarily on creating proof coins for collectors. Proof dimes from 1975 were carefully struck using polished dies and planchets to achieve a mirror finish and extremely sharp detail. Mint employees handled these coins with precision, ensuring they remained free of scratches and contact marks. The proof sets containing these dimes were sold to collectors and preserved as examples of the highest quality minting craftsmanship of the time. Interestingly, although the 1975 dime itself appears completely ordinary, there is an important chapter in numismatic history related to the missing 1975 no S proof dime, which was accidentally struck without the S mint mark. The absence of a mint mark created one of the most valuable modern dime rarities, although these missing mint mark examples do not exist for the regular circulation strike of 1975. Only a tiny number of no S proof dimes were ever released before the error was discovered, making them incredibly rare and extremely valuable among collectors. This awareness of rare errors from the 1970s has caused many collectors to carefully inspect even regular circulated 1975 dimes, just in case. The 1975 dime also reflects the ongoing legacy of the Roosevelt series. By the mid-1970s, the design had already been in continuous use for nearly 30 years, becoming one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Roosevelt's image remained unchanged through wars, economic transitions, and political shifts, representing stability and national pride. Even as other denominations underwent redesigns, the dime maintained its classic cynic portrait, which had become instantly recognizable to generations of Americans. The coin's size, weight, and composition remained consistent, ensuring that vending machines and mechanical coin devices throughout the country could continue to operate smoothly without recalibration. Throughout the decade, many coin collectors found themselves expanding their interest in modern coinage, including dimes from the 1970s. Even though these coins did not contain silver, they represented the ongoing evolution of American minting and the changing economy of the nation. Collectors often examine 1975 dimes for strike sharpness, die wear, heavy die polishing, or other small variations that give clues about mint conditions and production methods of the time. In uncirculated condition, the coins display strong luster and detail that reveal the craftsmanship of the minting process. The Roosevelt dime of 1972 continues the legacy of the dime introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Following his death in 1945, Roosevelt had been a major figure in American history, leading the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, and his image on the dime symbolizes both his leadership and his connection to the fight against polio, which he himself battled. The 1972 dime features the familiar obverse design by John R. Sinek, showing Roosevelt facing right with the inscriptions, "Liberty in God, We Trust," and the year 1972 beneath Roosevelt's neck. This design remained unchanged from the original release, emphasizing continuity and respect for Roosevelt's memory. The reverse of the dime features a torch representing liberty flanked by an olive branch on the left, symbolizing peace, and an oak branch on the right, representing strength and independence. The motto, E Pluribus Unum, is displayed above the torch. This design was also created by Sinek and has remained largely unchanged, reflecting the enduring symbolism of the torch and branches. The 1972 Roosevelt dime was minted in 3 locations: the Philadelphia Mint, identified with no mint mark, the Denver Mint, which carries a D mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint, primarily producing proof coins, identified with an S mint mark. The Philadelphia Mint produced a large number of dimes, as it has historically done, with production aimed at meeting circulating demand. The Denver Mint also produced substantial quantities, and the San Francisco Mint focused on higher quality proof sets meant for collectors rather than circulation. The composition of the 1972 dime is 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, commonly referred to as cupronickel, which is consistent with all Roosevelt dimes produced since 1965, when the U.S. moved away from silver coinage due to rising silver prices. The diameter of the coin is 17.91 millimeters, and it weighs 2.27 grams. Its reeded edge is both functional and decorative, providing tactile feedback and making the coin more difficult to counterfeit. The 1972 dime circulated widely in everyday commerce, being used in bank stores, vending machines, and for personal transactions across the United States. It is estimated that billions of dimes were in circulation during this period, making it a common coin for collectors, but also an essential part of daily life. The Roosevelt dime has always been appreciated not only for its practicality, but also for its artistic merit. John R. Sinek's design was selected to honor Roosevelt's achievements, and the coin has remained a model of numismatic consistency. Over the decades, collectors have sought specific varieties of the 1972 dime, including those with strong strikes, particularly sharp details in Roosevelt's hair and facial features, as well as dimes with full torch and branch details on the reverse coin grading has become increasingly important, with grades ranging from circulated conditions, such as good, very good, and fine, to uncirculated mint state grades including MS-60 through MS-70, with higher grades commanding greater attention and value. In addition to regular circulation strikes, the San Francisco Mint produced proof versions in 1972, which exhibit a mirror-like background with frosted design elements. These proofs were carefully struck with specially polished dies and were sought after by collectors for their sharpness and visual appeal. Proof sets included the dime, along with other denominations, allowing collectors to own a complete set of U.S. coinage for the year 1972. The Roosevelt dime has also been studied by numismatists for minor die variations and errors, which can occasionally be found among the coins from 1972. These include repunched mint marks, double dies, and other anomalies which add an element of excitement for collectors interested in rarities. The history of the Roosevelt dime is deeply tied to American history, as it reflects not only the memory of a president who shaped the nation, but also the evolution of coinage in the 20th century. From its silver origins to the transition to copper-nickel, the dime has been a witness to economic changes and technological advances in minting. The 1972 Roosevelt dime represents a mature period of coin production when the design had been in continuous use for over 25 years, and the coin had firmly established itself as a staple of American currency. Its circulation and use connect generations of Americans who have held and used these coins in everyday life. The coin serves as both a medium of exchange and a miniature work of art, encapsulating themes of liberty, strength, peace, and unity. In summary, the Roosevelt dime 1972 is a continuation of a legacy that began in 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It features the enduring obverse and reverse designs by John R. Sinek, minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, in cupro-nickel and circulated widely across the United States. It remains popular with collectors and enthusiasts for its historical significance, design, consistency, and occasional varieties, making it an important piece of American numismatic history. In 1972, the Roosevelt dime remained one of the most widely used coins in everyday American life, and its importance extended beyond commerce to its role in commemorating one of the most influential presidents in United States history. Franklin D. Roosevelt had guided the nation through some of its most challenging times, and the decision to feature him on the dime reflected his enduring legacy. One interesting aspect of the 1972 dime is the broader historical context in which it circulated. The early 1970s in the United States were marked by economic changes and social shifts, including the ongoing effects of the Vietnam War, inflationary pressures, and changes in monetary policy. Although the dime was a small denomination coin, it played a key role in daily transactions and vending machine use. Coinage like the Roosevelt dime became a symbol of stability and reliability at a time when the country faced uncertainty. The production process in 1972 involved high-speed coin presses at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, which used steel dies hardened through a process of heat treatment to strike millions of coins efficiently. The San Francisco Mint's proof coins were struck, using specially prepared dies and planchets, resulting in exceptionally sharp details and a mirror-like finish for collectors. The proof coins were often presented in sets along with other denominations and served as gifts and collector items, which contributed to the growth of coin collecting in the 1970s. Another notable aspect of the 1972 Roosevelt dime is the study of minor variations and errors which have fascinated numismatists. These can include small die cracks, repunched mint marks, and minor doubling effects. Some of these anomalies are rare and have become sought-after collectibles, adding another dimension to the history of the 1972 dime. The dime's design itself carries layers of symbolism. John R. Sinnock's obverse portrait of Roosevelt captures both a likeness of the president and a dignified expression reflecting his leadership qualities. The reverse torch symbolizes liberty, while the olive branch signifies peace, and the oak branch represents strength and endurance, together conveying the ideals that Roosevelt championed during his presidency. The 1972 dime also represents the continued use of the coin following the 1965 transition from silver to copper-nickel composition. This change had a significant impact on coin collecting and circulation, as it made coins less valuable intrinsically, but more practical for everyday use. The transition also reflects broader economic trends of the mid-20th century. The story of the 1970 Roosevelt dime begins with the legacy of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, whose leadership during the Great Depression and World War II made him one of the most influential figures in American history. After his passing in 1945, the United States Mint sought an appropriate way to honor his contributions and chose to redesign the 10-cent coin, replacing the Mercury dime that had been in circulation since 1916. The new design, created by chief engraver John R. Sinnock, featured a portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse symbolizing strength, leadership, and the nation's gratitude, and on the reverse, the torch flanked by an olive branch and oak branch representing liberty, peace, and strength. As the years passed, the Roosevelt dime became a stable part of American coinage, and by 1970, the coin had already completed 24 years of continuous production. The 1970 dime came at a time when the United States Mint was experimenting with new production methods and responding to the ongoing changes in the economy, including increasing coin demand and the aftermath of the 1965 Coinage Act, which replaced silver coins with clad copper-nickel versions. The 1970 dime followed the clad composition introduced in 1965, consisting of a pure copper core with outer layers of copper-nickel, providing durability and a silvery appearance while being cost-efficient for national coin production. The production of the Roosevelt dime in 1970 occurred at two major facilities, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Although the Philadelphia coins carried no mint mark, as was typical for the time, collector interest in the 1970 dime is often tied to the background of minting practices during the late 1960s and early 1970s, a period marked by increased coin collecting enthusiasm that had reached a peak in earlier years, but continued to influence the market as hobbyists searched for varieties, errors, and unique pieces from modern mint runs. The 1970 dimes were produced in large numbers, making most regular circulation strikes common, but certain features such as strike-quality die fatigue and mint made errors contribute to the appeal for collectors today. During this era, the Mint continued refining its equipment and production processes as high-speed machinery became the standard for mass coinage. The dies used to strike the 1970 dimes went through heavy workloads, sometimes leading to minor imperfections, such as die cracks off center strikes and weak strikes, which can be found on surviving examples. These small variations spark collector interest because they offer a glimpse into the working conditions and technical adjustments of the Mint. At the time, error coins from the 1970 production period, such as broad strikes, clipped planchets, or double die obverse or reverse pieces if discovered, can command notable premiums in the market, especially when preserved in high grades. The design of the Roosevelt dime had remained unchanged since its introduction, and by 1970, the coin was seen as an iconic part of the nation's circulating currency. The obverse still featured the familiar left-facing portrait of Roosevelt with the inscription, "Liberty," placed prominently along the rim, and "In God We Trust" positioned below his chin. The mint date 1970 appeared in its usual location near the bottom, while the reverse continued to showcase the torch, olive branch, and oak branch, along with the inscriptions. United States of America, a pluribus unum, and 1 dime. This consistent design helped anchor the dime's identity during a time when other denominations were undergoing or soon would undergo redesigns and commemorative issues. The historical context of the early 1970s also shaped the meaning of the Roosevelt dime. The United States was transitioning socially, politically, and economically. The ending years of the Vietnam War inflation concerns, and shifting national priorities marked the period, yet the dime remained a simple, everyday object that connected generations. As Americans carried and used these coins in daily commerce, the Roosevelt dime served as a small reminder of the nation's past leadership and enduring values. The coin's practicality made it essential in vending machines, payphones, and everyday transactions, making the 1970 issue a significant part of millions of lives. For collectors today, the 1970 Roosevelt dime carries importance not because it is rare, but because it represents the steady production of U.S. coinage during a transitional era. Numismatists often examine these coins for high-grade examples graded by professional services such as PCGS and NGC, where coins in mint, state 67 or 68, can be considered exceptional due to the challenges of achieving perfect surfaces on mass-produced clad coinage. The clad layers easily pick up scratches and scuffs, so finding a pristine, untouched example from 1970 can be surprisingly difficult, which adds value and desirability for serious collectors. The 1970 dime also holds interest for those who study minting history. The period saw experiments and refinements in striking pressure, die alignment, and plancher preparation, which means coins from this year sometimes display stronger than average details or unusually sharp edges. The mint was becoming more advanced in quality control, yet millions of coins still left the facilities with minor imperfections, revealing the gradual evolution of American coinage technology. Collectors who enjoy exploring the technical side of minting find the 1970 dime an excellent case study in understanding how modern clad coins matured over the decade. Beyond the physical coin, the story of the 1970 Roosevelt dime is also a story about the legacy of Roosevelt himself. Born in 1882, he rose from a privileged background to become a champion of the common person, leading the nation through some of its darkest times. His New Deal programs transformed the economic landscape, providing relief, recovery, and reform. His leadership during World War II united the country at a time of global uncertainty. The decision to place his image on the dime was not only a tribute to his presidency, but specifically to honor his connection to the March of Dimes, a fundraising campaign dedicated to fighting polio, a disease Roosevelt himself battled throughout his life. This personal connection has forever tied the dime to themes of resilience, hope, and national unity. As the video progresses, viewers can explore how the Roosevelt dime maintained its place in everyday commerce during 1970, a time when cash transactions were the backbone of the American economy. Electronic payments, credit cards, and digital devices had not yet transformed spending habits, so coins like the dime were essential in countless daily moments, whether buying a newspaper, paying for parking, or using a vending machine. The dime played a vital role in the rhythm of American life. The 1970 dime is therefore more than just a collectible. It is a snapshot of a time when the smallest denominations mattered deeply in daily routines. Towards the end of the story, we can reflect on the continuing relevance of the Roosevelt dime. The design, introduced in 1946, remains in use today with only minor adjustments over the decades. The 1970 issue stands as one link in a long chain of production representing stability, consistency, and the enduring recognition of Roosevelt's contributions to the nation. For collectors, historians, and casual enthusiasts, the 1970 dime offers insight into minting change's economic history and the quiet but powerful role of coinage in society. Its large mintage ensures that examples are readily available, but the historical narrative behind it gives the coin depth that goes beyond its 10-cent face value.